Welcome back to Get in the Cashflow Game with K&K, where we talk about investing in real estate, cash flow, building wealth, and all the lessons we learned along the way. And if you can, do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe this podcast, share it with your friends and family. That way we can continue to bring you value every week and get bigger and better guests on the show. We've been working on this for the past few months. You know we always want to bring as much value as we possibly can, and our partner, Prime Corporate Services, is all about bringing you a service you can't get anywhere else at a price you can't get anywhere else. Whether you're new to owning a business or owning a property, or you're an experienced property owner or investor, Prime Corporate Services is not only going to help you, but they're going to make the process so much easier. So if you book a call, the first thing they're going to do for you is help you understand what your business structure should look like, your corporate structure, tax planning, estate planning, all of that. Maybe you're saying, I'm brand new to starting a business and all this sounds foreign and complicated. Remember, this company helps new people just getting started every day. They're going to help you form the entity that's best for you and walk you through the process. Before I found this company, we paid thousands of dollars to other attorneys, CPAs, and consultants to try to understand exactly how we need to be structured to be as protected as possible. We've also gone the other route and used online platforms to form entities which unnecessarily put us at risk. You guys, you don't have to do that with this company. They'll do all of these things for you at a reasonable price, so you never have to think about saving money at the expense of exposing yourself to liability. We've searched high and low, and you will not find this much value anywhere else. All you have to do is schedule a free call today. Just go to primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. Once again, that's primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. We'll also leave the info for you in the show notes. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming in. You've kind of been living in our office a lot more recently.
A little bit.
We don't mind having you in here, but...
It's Jessica Pringer, who's married to Mitch Pringer. And if you guys don't know who Mitch Pringer is, then you're living under a bridge. So Jessica, why we're having you in today is because we started using... Wow, wait a minute. When did we start doing IVs?
I think it was around the time that Mitch and Jessica got together.
Yeah,
I want to say
so.
And when you guys did, we were really, really sick. And
we
we got
were
a lot
sick
of IVs.
all the time. Because
all the time.
Carlo was getting sick at school.
That was the worst.
So we were just like living off of IVs like pretty much every week.
Yeah, it's keeping you functional, you know.
Yeah.
And so the big thing about IVs, if a lot of people do not do them, a lot of people I know do them. It's like literally, but if you guys don't do them, for us, it's been a game changer. It's natural. And so I'm not into just calling the doctor and taking a bunch of crappy medicine because honestly, I don't like it and my body reacts differently. So everybody's been sick in my house in the last
if you have small kids,
month or two. Yeah.
Petri dishes.
And Jessica the other day gave me some crazy IV. God knows what was in there. But
all the things.
Yeah. So that's why we're having her on. So you guys listening, I don't care what you do. The alternative to going to the doctor and doing this other stuff is trying IVs.
Like when you have the common cold or things, obviously you still need to go to your doctor for serious things. But this like gives you life. Like when you need to keep going. For example, like when you have work and then you have to get home and your kids could care less if you feel good or not. This like gives me at least, it's given me the energy to keep going when I didn't have a choice.
Well, we're all just naturally dehydrated just from life. Like you don't even realize how much you sweat at night when you're sleeping. So when we're already a little dehydrated all the time, it doesn't matter how much water you drink, especially when you get sick. Like it's so dehydrating because that's how your body heals itself. You use all the nutrients and water in your body. So it's so dehydrating. When you get an IV when you're sick, you just feel so much better and you can get over it faster. It's not a cure, but you don't feel like death anymore, at least.
Yeah, for sure. So Jessica, take us back because obviously you don't just do IVs and you just didn't start an IV business yesterday and start pricking people. So if you can take us back of your background, of what you've done, kind of how you got here, it'd be a good start so everybody knows.
Yeah, so I've been doing this about 20 years.
Holy moly.
No big deal. I am from Kentucky and started out in healthcare when I was 18. So then I got a little of experience, and coming from a small town in eastern Kentucky, I knew I wanted to travel. So travel nursing offered me that opportunity. So I got to see every state except Alaska, ended up in San Diego, and I was like, ooh, this is okay. And I just crash landed here and never left. In these 20 years, I've done 10 years of emergency room nursing, trauma, and 5 years of ICU nursing and 3 years of hospice. But almost all of my time in San Diego, the IV industry started become popular. So on weekends and just part-time, I was like, okay, I'll cure people's hangovers. And then through COVID, I was like, this needs to be like my full-time thing. So that's where the company started.
I didn't even know you were 20 years, and I didn't really know you traveled to all those states. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow, that's fun. Okay, I didn't know that. See, we always learn something new.
Absolutely. Even about your friends.
I know, right? So it's kind of funny because I think when people think IV, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I feel like the IV really, for me, it was like always hearing people go, I got so annihilated last night. And then I went down to the spa and got an IV, and next thing I know, this guy would be out drinking. A couple hours later, I go, how do you do that? He's like, I got an IV and I feel like Superman. I'm ready to go again. And I realized it works like that. And then when you get one of these, if you feel like crap or run down or hungover, all this stuff, it really, like you're saying, you're dehydrated. It really does that. So if you can kind of jump in, like what are some of the, just off the like generic, what are some of the common things that people would call somebody, to go get an IV? Why? And then maybe kind of like what recovery could they kind of expect from an IV?
Great question. So yes, obviously Vegas made the IV industry boom. Thank you.
Yeah.
And hangovers. That's honestly, it's always probably going to be our biggest customers and clientele. San Diego's a great city to come and visit. So you party too hard and you want to keep enjoying your time, so you get an IV. It's a shortcut. Anytime you're drinking hard, you're depleting all of your stores of vitamin B. So one of the things in our hangover drip is the B complex and B12. So almost immediately you're like, ooh, I feel better. And it also includes the Toradol and Zofran for the headache and nausea that come along
That's
with
the killer.
crazy hangovers. And it's dehydrating. So within like 100 milliliters of the fluid, people are like, whew, okay. So some people pregame and do an IV before they know they're going to be drinking. Highly recommend that.
Does that really make a difference?
It does, because you're getting ahead of the pain. So if you're properly hydrated when you start drinking, you're not going to get as many side effects when you do get dehydrated and you drink too much.
That's why people
And also, I think this is such a great idea for like bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, like that sort of thing, just because you're going all out, you're like wild. And I know a lot of us aren't like 20-year-olds anymore. And so it's like, dude, a night of drinking or celebration, it's like you almost want to have that.
Yeah, I've had a lot of brides call on their big day, and they're like, our rehearsal dinner was last night. I went too hard. I look like crap. Help. So,
skin and everything.
It will make
exactly.
It changes. Like
you just look more vibrant almost immediately. So it's huge for brides and the bridal party. COVID was huge for us because we're not going to cure your COVID, but you're dehydrated. We're going to make you feel better. We give you all the vitamins and nutrients you need. So you come out feeling a lot better and you get over it a little faster.
I want to ask you too, because I've heard this, like people say this before, if it's true or not, like they do the test where you like pinch your skin to see how like hydrated your skin is.
Skin turgor, yes.
A real thing?
So you can check your skin turgor by pinching your hand or even your face. And, if it stays there a little bit, that means you're dehydrated, which most of us are.
And when you're working in, the ER, I mean, this stuff has been used forever.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more like when it wasn't accessible, people weren't driving around. So it was more like if you probably got a drip prior to like this, you had to like go somewhere. It's just not as easy to find.
Urgent care or ER, and you were near alcohol poisoning by the time you got an IV in the ER. So if you come in and
that's the only way they give it to you, basically.
Yeah, if you're coming and you're drunk in the ER, we're just going to let you sober up a little bit. But the IV, if somebody is nearing the toxic phases of alcohol poisoning, you give them the IV with all these B complex, B12, and that keeps them from going down a spiral of not being healthy.
What I like about this like whole thing is, I think for Ken and I, is that we've been really trying to stay on top of our health, like in many, many aspects. And it's more like, we hear people talking about this a lot now, but like you go to the doctor, you go to the ER once it's too late. And so this is like preventative maintenance for your body, which is, I think, so great. Because like you said, so many of us are walking around dehydrated all day, not just when we're drunk or sick, but we're walking around dehydrated, and we also have vitamin deficiencies.
Yeah, you could either take a handful of vitamins every day of the week, or you could do an IV vitamin drip once a week and you're good to go. So it's becoming a lot more popular for people just doing it for wellness, which is why we started memberships. So people will get a drip a week and they don't take vitamin supplements as much anymore because they don't need it.
Well, and don't they, I mean, the IV obviously gets more absorbed by the body
100%.
than vitamins.
And vitamins, if you take the oral supplements, you get 35 to 40% of the benefits because your body has to break it down. And then, you know, the stomach acid and everything comes into play. So you get benefits from it, but you have to take a lot more vitamins than you would in a drip because it's immediate.
That's so much like why we've done that, and that's why even like when we get sick, it's like I don't even care about taking the zinc or the vitamin C and stuff because I know most of it's going to waste. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna call Jessica and get an IV. And if anybody's been to our office, like they've literally seen us here getting IVs at our desk.
Nothing
like,
to see here.
Multiple. And then it's funny because you'll have like 2 or 3 of us hooked up like at a time just getting work done and stuff. And it is like I notice it within like 15 minutes. I'm like, whoa.
And you taste the vitamins.
Yeah.
Because your body's like, oh, hey.
I do.
We missed you.
It tastes like almonds to me. I think it tastes like different things to everybody, but I'm like, I get this like almond flavor kind of.
Some people say they smell it. Some
Yeah.
people say they taste it, which is weird since it's going into your vein. But it's your body telling you, hey, we need this. Thank you.
And you know, to be honest, I hate needles. I literally hate them.
I've noticed.
And so I will tell anybody that's scared of getting pricked. Literally, I'm a baby. I'm a 6'7" baby, so I just don't watch it. Krystle likes to watch it go in, but honestly, it's very easy. It's not painful because trust me, like giving blood and all that, I freak out. So if that's one of your things, it's literally not a concern. Okay, so I think we need to jump into good information to people on why they should do the therapy. So can you kind of go over what would you say your top 5, 7 common reasons, things,
So obviously,
symptoms
number
you're
one,
saying?
people call when they have a hangover. And I'm like, okay, on my way. But people also call when they get sick and they have to stay off of work. So they're like, oh, I got to get back in the office, come and help me out. So we do a lot of immunity boost strips. And the food poisoning, like you go out and have bad sushi and you can't get over that. You're puking, you're really dehydrated. We have Zofran and Toradol to help with those symptoms and get you back to work the next day.
Does that literally help you? Like if you have food poisoning, for example, if you're like throwing up, will the Toradol or the Zofran help you?
So the Zofran, when you have food poisoning and you start vomiting, your body's trying to expel whatever that bacteria or whatever is wrong happening in your gut. So the Zofran stops that cycle of the cyclic vomiting. So it was actually started using for cancer patients with, you know, the chemo is very nauseating. So they use it for cancer patients to calm those contractions and make you feel nauseous and the vomiting. So yes, the Zofran definitely works for anything that makes you puke. Food poisoning, hangovers, all the things.
Yeah, food poisoning is
rough.
Even morning sickness, but we would also like to have the OB's approval if we do treatments for pregnant women, but it's a game changer. I had it when I was pregnant with Andy. The Zofran was life-saving.
Oh, that's interesting. Never heard of that.
That's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. Migraines.
Oh, yes. I've saved myself a few times with the Toradol for migraines.
And then like, you know, there's viral illnesses.
Performance, like athletes, like we said, a lot of people will do it pre-game, like pre-marathon, pre-triathletes. They'll just get themselves nice and hydrated before they go perform. And then after, they'll do like a recovery drip, get those muscles nice and hydrated back up.
Marathon runner, if you ran a marathon, that's huge, I bet.
Yes.
Well, hydration is huge for athletes in general. Like you hear people, like, I mean, that's why they have those little like.
Because your muscles,
hydration
right?
packs.
I mean, if you ran a marathon, if you're not properly dehydrated, your recovery is that much longer.
Oh, that's why they get cramps and, you know, just feel those body aches and fatigue after races because they were dehydrated to start. And look at how much they sweat. Like it's very dehydrating.
Yeah. So the one thing I would say for me, I know Krystle, maybe, I'm not saying you don't do as much as me, is I just think even if you just did it once a month,
Yep.
It keeps up with it. But also if your family's gotten sick, you should definitely nail it right away before you get sick.
Get ahead of the curve. Yeah, like if your kids are starting to get sniffles, you need to get ahead of the curve. Give yourself the zinc, the vitamin C, the magnesium, and the hydration.
And what's cool about the membership is just like, too, I think sometimes we wake up and you're just having an off day. Like you're just feeling kind of off and you're like, wow, an IV would be really nice right now. Just
while you're at the office or while you're at work. Yeah, just kick it before, you feel too bad.
And so what I do too is but one of the things is if you've been going hard, you're hustling, you're grinding, and you feel worn out and just kind of like, you're like, I just can't seem to get out of this. Like, not even you're sick, but you almost feel like you're that feeling you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time, one of them I got it, I was feeling like that, but I wasn't getting sick and I just could not get over it. And that was the first time I think I got the IV, and I was like, holy smokes, it literally snapped me out of it. And that's when I really became a believer, because I was like, yeah, I get the hangover and all that, but when I was in this, I just, you just cannot kick it.
Yeah.
This just gave me a boost to get over it. And I remember the first time you kind of get these, you're like, when you feel like shit, it's like, you feel like shit, and then you finally get better and you're just like, oh my gosh, you feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
Instead of delaying this, you can get there with hours. And that was my next question is, how long, I mean, you can run through some of the scenarios, but how long is somebody looking if, they're hungover, they're feeling worn out, maybe they ran a marathon and they're just not feeling great? Like, what is a typical, how long is it going to take to start feeling like
That's a good
little
question.
bit normal?
And how long does it stay with you? So when I walk into bachelor parties and things and men have been going hard and having some fun for a few days, by the time I leave, they're like, you're doing the Lord's work, ma'am. I mean, they feel better immediately. When you're very hungover and you get those nutrients back in your body and you get hydrated, within 15 minutes, they're like, oh. Yeah. If you're sick or you're just getting it for immunity and things like that, you don't really feel the benefits right away. The next day is most of the time when people are like, oh, I didn't realize that I was so fatigued, but I woke up with all this energy today and I feel so much better.
So last week when you gave me my IV and I was like, I had gotten sick, I was like, gonna call you. Mitch was like, call Jessica. And then I was like, okay, I'm sick. I need Jessica. You gave me that IV and I told you saved me from losing my voice because I felt the laryngitis coming on. So it was like in the back of my throat getting like kind of harder and harder to talk. So that never came out. And then that night, like I never do this, but I was freaking exhausted. So I went home and I passed out at like 8:00 at night. And
she was out.
Yes. But then I woke up the next day and believe me, I wasn't 100%, but I was like 70%. Like I woke up and I was like,
let's go.
I'm pretty much like on the mend at this point. And so that was amazing because we just like, I got one really good night of sleep, got the IV, and it literally like saved me from getting super
sick. A lot
of
people do say that, oh, I felt kind of sleepy initially. And that's because your body is so exhausted and you need those nutrients. So there's magnesium in most of my drips. And the magnesium is so good for anxiety, your heart health, your muscles. So it's very relaxing. Mm-hmm. So I start with a very low dose for everybody because it does make some people sleepy. But once you get that, your magnesium stores replenished, so to speak, like you sleep so much better, your anxiety's better. It's just so good for you.
I never go to bed that early, so that must have been the magnesium.
And it's forcing you to get that sleep you need. It's like, okay.
That was probably one of the biggest drips in as far as like what we put in there that I've gotten. So she's just like, we're going for the recovery.
I was pretty much like mostly better the next day.
Yeah, you guys have got all the things. So you got the immunity boost with the vitamin C, the zinc, magnesium. You also had an add-on of the Toradol for inflammation and just those aches
that
and
is
pains.
Awesome. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
And you got a vitamin D shot as well with vitamin B12 with it. And the vitamin D is such an immunity booster. Like, even though we live in San Diego, we don't get enough sunlight. So all of us have vitamin D deficiency. I mean, our infants, we have to give vitamin D drops when they're born. It's just crazy. So when you get your vitamin D stores back, your mood, your sleep, all your immunity is just, it's boosted.
Yeah, well, on that, so Krystle and I did this health nucleus thing, and I don't know if we told you about that.
Yeah, you did.
So they literally, it's not cheap. They test your whole body, and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm getting in 40. I'm like, just trying to see if like there's anything blockage.
Awesome.
Like, yeah. And so she calls me and she goes, okay, we're going to go through everything. She goes, this is very easy. She goes, you're in great. I'm like, sweet. She goes, but there's one deficiency. It's really low. And what do you think it was?
Vitamin D.
I'm like, what? So I take these little
and he's
pills.
In the sun too.
That's
he's
what
like
she goes. She's like, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So literally, I mean, I mean, I'm not in the sun like, you know, I'm a beach bum or a lifeguard, but the point is we live in San Diego, it's sunny, and that was my biggest deficiency. So anyways.
Well, and they say like you need to get outside in the light like every morning for like 30 minutes at least to help your vitamin D and stuff.
Yeah, but now we're wearing the sunscreen. Like everybody knows about sunscreen
and clothes. I heard
clothing.
It actually, like,
yeah.
if it's cold, for example, and you're wearing a sweatshirt, it's not the same as if you were out there in your like swim trunks, like getting sun.
Everybody's so concerned with skin cancer. Thankfully,
I get it. Yeah.
You know, we're not getting all the vitamin D we need. Even when I worked night shift, I worked night shift for almost 15 years. So my vitamin D levels were definitely depleted, but they're no better now that I'm not a vampire anymore. Like my vitamin D stores are still very low. So I do give myself vitamin D every week.
I think it's like our lifestyle too, because we're working all day, usually in an office or inside somewhere. We're not like cavemen, like out there like foraging and hunting for food all day. You know, it's like we actually unfortunately have to work.
And all the nutrients in your body work together. So when one of them's depleted, they all kind of go down the drain. So they all work together.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to, a couple of things I want to talk about. So if you guys never got a drip, and I'm just saying this from experience and you can jump in, you might be getting a drip and you feel like crap, you're sick. It's not necessarily just going to like wake up and cure, but what it does is, you know, when you're getting sick and you feel like crap and you just can't get out of bed or you're just foggy or this, and like we talked about, you have kids, you got a business, and it's like that shit does not go away.
No.
And it's like, it's like there. So what this can do, what it's done, I know you're talking about, it can at least give you to where you can like, you feel a lot better. So what I was noticing is the energy and maybe a clearing of the brain. So I'm like, okay, I'm not, on a 1 to 10, I was feeling like a 9, I mean, whatever, maybe I'm exaggerating, but now I feel like a 5. So it just makes you might have the symptoms, but you just feel like a little boost, a little energy, and it can help you recover faster. Because look, probably the more we're sitting around, I was going to ask you, it's like the more you're sitting around feeling like crap and not getting, you know, I feel like if I'm just laying around and I'm not going to recover faster than if I get up and get going, you know?
Exactly. So also two of the things that I usually give you guys is the glutathione, which it's a super enzyme. So it helps detox your liver. It helps with anti-aging, skin brightening. It's amazing for like brain fog, mommy brain. It totally clears all of those like toxins out of your body, so you do feel sharper and more focused. And NAD, which is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Oh,
that's amazing.
Wow.
That's a big one.
It's a mouthful.
What?
That is also like a super enzyme. So it helps with mitochondrial production and your ATP stores, which is your energy. So as we age, your NAD levels just naturally drop. So when you're born, you have the most NAD levels, and as you age, they just slowly drop off. So when we replace those NAD levels, they feel so like their concentration is sharpen, their focus, their energy. It even increases your metabolic demand. So like if you're working out, like you're burning more calories, you feel so good. We even use it for like detox of all the things.
Okay. Recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. So when people are going to recovery, there's a lot of this.
I've heard like
Daily.
smokers, like drug addiction, like all that kind of stuff. If they get like a certain dose so many days for a while, like it like
kind of resets
helps.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you to keep the healthy cycles going, but it does help you get that out of your system, and
it doesn't get those.
It's not a cure; it's a help.
You still have to do the work, but it's going to help you along for sure. Yeah.
One story I wanted to share. I might have told you this, and I didn't even realize that we talked about this. So I went to Mexico and I surfed, and I had bad shoulders, and I screwed my shoulder up just like I think I fell, and I remember I couldn't even move it, and so it was bothering me probably like a month, and it just wasn't getting better. And then Krystle at the time too, like, I don't know, it was your leg or something. Your hip was bothering you, and you came in and gave us a drip and gave us the
Toradol.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the next day I was like,
it can stay with you for up to like 3 days.
Literally, I was like, not only that, it got my shoulder over the hump. So it was just kind of stagnant, and it was like just staying there, and it just got over the hump, and I was able to recover.
It's like inflamed.
Yeah, and then her hip, and we were like, she has my hip, I got my arm, and we're like, light bulb. So anyways, it can do it's random things. So.
It decreased all that inflammation in there, so you could move it and get it back to, normal. And Toradol is actually it's no stronger really than like naproxen. But when you give it in IV form, it just goes straight to where it needs to go and decreases that inflammation wherever the pain may be. So it's amazing.
So if you're taking, like, if I go in and I go to CVS and they just prescribe a pill and I take it, and then you're giving me, what really is the difference? Like, is there...
The same as the oral supplements that we talked about, the vitamins. Like, if you take Motrin, yeah, it's going to work. You're going to get that... it's going to decrease the inflammation wherever it is, but you have to absorb it in your stomach. Then your stomach acids have to break it down. If you already don't feel good, it's going to make you nauseous because all those stomach acids with that anti-inflammatory medication. So when you give it in the IV form, it bypasses the digestive system. So it goes straight to where it needs to go.
And I feel like it works better. Like if me taking ibuprofen versus getting
for sure.
an IV drip. Because the other thing I was going to say is, like, when I was sick too, like if you have congestion and I get that Toradol, it just like clears everything. Like it's inflammation anywhere in your body. So it's like if your sinuses are inflamed and you get the Toradol, it just like opens it up again. Which is
and almost everybody can get it. If you have kidney issues, it's not recommended, but it's like Motrin. So it's non-narcotic, non-addictive. It just decreases the inflammation. You could do it daily. I just don't recommend it.
I like the idea too, just because Mitch loves fishing and stuff, and I know he has that friend that
this is a good story.
Yeah.
Tell this story.
Yeah, the friend that pukes every time he gets on the boat.
Sorry.
My kids call him Pukey.
Poor guy.
At the wedding, I think Mitch actually told the kids, that's my friend. His name is Ralph.
Oh no.
His name is Sam, or?
It's Sean.
Sean. I went up to Sean. I remember your wedding, and I know you'll tell the story why, whatever, but I was like, he's over there. I go, what's your name, Sean? I go, are you the guy that like looks at water and throws up? He goes, that's me. I go, okay. I was like, I felt bad, but I was like, yeah.
So Mitch had been taking him out, like they're fishing buddies for years.
Just like that's some serious dedication to keep going.
Mitch would say like he would just barf and keep going, barf and keep going, barf and keep going, and he's just reeling them in, And I was like, Mitch, you need to tell him to come over before you guys go fishing. I'm going to give him a drip, and it'll change your day. He's like, well, okay. So he was up for it. He was so game. He's like, I'll try anything. I've tried everything already.
Literally.
So I gave him a drip with the Zofran before they went fishing. He did not barf once. He said it was his best fishing trip yet. And so now when they go fishing, he gets a drip prior, and he gets to enjoy it.
That is...
Because seasickness is
huge.
Bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that is...
And it doesn't end until you're back on land.
No.
If you've ever been seasick, if you ever have, and like you said, you just said the magic word. You can't usually kill it unless you get better on land or you jump in the water. But
so get ahead of it.
No, exactly. But it's the worst because
I've never been seasick. Thank goodness. I've had a couple times I felt really nauseous, but like I've seen people seasick and their face is literally
awful.
like
sheet white. Yeah.
And just like it's.
We're remembering the one.
Yeah, when we were in Bali with our client, oh my God, I felt so bad. It's just like I commend him for continuing to go, but now at least he has a solution because I would not go.
Oh, heck no.
And he's like, Kenny, what do we do? I go, we got to get to land as soon as possible. So go this way. We got to land and she stepped off. And I remember she's like, oh my gosh, thank you. And I was like, we need to sit here for a couple hours. She recovered. And I'm like, just get in the boat and just go right back to, it was like an island. It was like an island. I just go right back to land. And she was okay, but you got to get on land and chill. Oh yeah.
Ginger, Dramamine. He even had these like weird goggles that were supposed to stabilize you.
Oh my gosh!
It looked like there was water in them. He sent us a picture. He's like, I'm going to try this.
Holy
of course, it doesn't help because he still comes to me. But he tried everything. I felt so bad for him. But now he gets to enjoy his fishing trips.
So if you get an IV drip, depending on what you get, how long does it typically last?
So everybody's different.
Yeah.
If you get them more frequently, it stays with you longer.
Like anything, okay.
But if you're depleted and you get a drip, then about 3 days is the average. People will be like, yeah, I had energy, I felt good for about 3 days, and then it wears off. But my members who get it weekly, they have energy all week long until it's time for me to come back. So
if you have kids, what is probably the age if you were to give a kid a drip or want to do that? Like, I know a kid has to want to get that, but what do you think if a kid's up for it, what is probably an age that's like probably recommended?
I mean, we don't want to traumatize them, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So, but it's so good for them. I mean, my daughter she's going on 13 and she has had IVs before and she felt way, way better. Personally, I like to start around the age of 16. Because then they're like, oh, okay, I know this is going to be beneficial for me. They've had blood draws before, so it's not super scary. So around 16.
But younger is probably hard because kids are just, it's like a bad experience.
They're afraid of healthcare enough already from their vaccinations and just going to the doctor. So I don't want to feed into that. Like, I want to come into your house and make you feel good, not make you scared of me. So
yeah, I will say the one time you did IVs at our house was the last time because Harlow cried the entire time. Like, I think she thought we were like going to the hospital or something. She was just so upset.
I know, and that's why I told Mish, I was like, this could go good or it could go bad. So I won't go around them in scrubs anymore.
Yeah. Well, Harper would be down. She'd be like, Mommy, I want one too. But I know some of our friends, their kids that were just really sick, like they had the flu really bad or something and they couldn't keep fluids down or whatever, just super dehydrated. Yeah. They've gotten the IV before, and that even, like, it doesn't, it definitely helps as long as you're comfortable and like they're the right age and all of that. So. Yeah,
with parental consent, like there's a gray area, but it's a lot for kids. Like, oh, that has to stay in my body.
It's a lot for It's a lot for some adults too.
Yes,
like Kenny, for example.
What? So we always get asked this in our business, right? So people are looking to go get a loan, or you're going to go do this or that, like, you know. I mean, for me, I can answer your question for you because it's simple, but what's going to separate you from maybe somebody else getting a drip from somebody else?
That's a good question. You get me. So I always do the extra work before I start an infusion to make sure I have the right vessel. I've been doing this 20 years, so I'm not going to poke you more than once. And if I have to, it's usually because you get all tensed up and it's like, oh, well, that vein says no thank you. But I bring to the table all of my knowledge over these past 20 years, you know, so I'm not in it for, yes, we all have to pay our bills. But if you look at the competitors' prices, I literally got into this industry to bring it to more people, make it more accessible. So yes, we have to pay the bills, but I'm not going to charge double what I think it's worth. That sets me apart because I just want to make more people feel better in the comfort of their home, keep them from the emergency rooms and urgent care. This is preventative. Sometimes, yes, people are so sick that I would recommend they still go to the emergency room, but I think COVID taught us if we can stay home and get better, that's really where it's at.
Well, I think for like me too, with you, like what I see as an outsider, we've gotten IVs from other places as well in the past, and what I would say is
cheater.
We've had them, we've been that person in Vegas that goes downstairs to the spa, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm just like, most of the places, they don't really explain to you what each thing is, and so you don't know what to pay.
I don't even know if they know what it is.
Because we're not in the medical field, and a lot of them I know are nurses or whatever, but like they're there just for a job. It's just their side cash or whatever. So I feel like for you, like this is something that you're passionate about, and so if we're feeling a certain way, you're like, oh, I know just the thing that's going to help you, that's going to be good for you. So I think you're very like proactive on all that stuff, not to mention that like you told Kenny his finger was fractured last week when he wasn't sure he was going to have to go to the doctor. Just things like that, like you have that knowledge that you can kind of help people out in any way that you can, and you have the expertise and you're passionate about it. So
thank you.
So tell us about your company, like who you came up with the name, how does it work if somebody's never done this, right? They're like, so you're mobile.
Yes,
so
completely mobile.
So, you know, you can go anywhere. So if you can kind of explain the experience, what they can expect, how long it is, maybe how to book an appointment, stuff like that.
It's a little off-putting if you've never had it done, because you're like, I don't need that, until you have it, and then you're like, okay, this was worth it. And it takes 30 minutes to an hour, completely mobile. You can go to www.cc2u.com. The number two. And we have all the IV options. You can book online, shows availability and prices.
Are people calling you too?
Yeah.
If they're brand new and they're like, I don't know what I should get. Like, are you, is it, so
Nobody really knows what they
So when you
need.
go, okay, so I guess another question is if you go out and somebody books something, a lot of times are you probably doing more than they want because they start asking you questions because
Of
you're
course,
teaching?
yes.
Okay.
So some people do go on the website and they'll, like, we have a chat section, so they ask questions.
Okay.
And I answer those questions and they book, but even once they book, once I get into the home, they're like, okay, well, I don't really know what I need. And every person, I tailor it to the person. So that's why my prices are so just simple and easy, because I know everybody needs something different. You might think that you need that, but then after consultation, I'm like, no, I don't recommend that. So every person, I really get deep into, why do you want this? What are you hoping to get from it? And then tailor the drip to the person.
And then how long? Like, I know how long it takes, but like in terms of time commitment.
Well, for water hose veins like y'all, it's according to the vasculature.
Yeah.
So I actually specialize in very, very difficult sticks. Patients that have really small veins or really sick and dehydrated, they can take up to an hour. But healthy guys like you guys, 30 minutes-ish.
Yeah. It's pretty fast for us.
I guess too, if the other thing I was going to say is the experience is a big thing here because we have used other people. And I think some people go in, they just book it. And if you're not feeling like the person on the other side is bringing like confidence or starting a conversation to say, what are your symptoms? What are you feeling? So I guess I would ask you is if somebody isn't sure, are you kind of asking them questions to bring it out of them? Or,
Oh, definitely.
Or if they're going to get a drip, what are some of your recommendations of things they should be thinking about or, reading about or maybe doing some research to figure out like what they would ask you? You know what I'm saying?
I definitely recommend everybody do their homework, do your research. But it comes down to what do you want to get out of it? Are you calling because you're hungover and you just want to feel better? Okay, we have a cure for that. Are you calling because you want to get ahead of your wellness, make, your productivity optimal and do something for yourself? Then we have more options. There's so many add-ons that we can do for athletes, for performance, for just mental clarity. There's something for everybody. So
You can have some cosmetic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have biotin, so that helps with not only joint health, but hair, skin, nails, and just vibrance. We have a beauty drip, so that's definitely something that the brides like. But there's something for everybody.
So let's ask a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yes, sir.
Why don't I just drink a bunch of water? Isn't it the same thing?
No.
Why?
So when you wake up, you're already dehydrated. And yeah, you can drink plenty of water, but it's how that water gets into your cells. So when you wake up, I actually recommend that you put some electrolytes in your water. That's going to help you get hydrated before you have your coffee. But if you drink a ton of water, again, it's going to go into your gut, you're going to digest it, and you're just going to pee all day. But when you get an IV, it goes exactly where you need it to go. Your body knows what it needs. So when you get an IV, it goes directly into your veins and your heart's healthy, your lungs are healthy, so you don't have to drink as much water. And you won't pee all the time when you get an IV unless you're already hydrated.
So San Diego, you're doing all of San Diego. Is there any additional charges for going to Escondido?
No. I'm the only one in San Diego that does not charge travel fees.
Whoa, all right. Do you accept insurance?
We do accept like HSA if you have that savings account.
That's cool.
Yeah, some people do that.
That was cool when I
That's
saw
cool.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's a little
you get a
nugget.
card with your plan. We can swipe those cards. We do accept HSA services.
Okay, cool. And you're right now, if they book with you, they're getting you,
Right now, they're getting just me.
which is a good thing.
What you see is what you get.
Yep. Okay, so if you're going to do a party, if you're going to do an event, what would you recommend as far as notice for you? Because obviously if there's a lot of people, you might have to bring in people. So is there some
Right.
type of, don't call me in 3, like, is there, a notice? Do you want to?
I mean, 24 hours is a good advance. You can book your big party online, but I recommend that you reach out in the chat section and talk to me privately because I can give you big group discount. So parties are great. I can get everything set up ahead of time, and then I can do up to 10 people at a time.
That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
It'll take a little longer because obviously.
Yeah, but you're hanging out, probably
10
talking.
IVs, yeah.
But if it's any more than 10 people, then I have friends who I will come in and they'll give me a little hand.
Do you recommend, are you allowed to drink alcohol while you're getting an IV?
Kenny, some people have done more
I'm just
than...
thinking, like, you're at a party. Like,
Some people have done more
I'm
than
like,
that, right?
is that a dumb question? I'm just thinking about it.
Some people have offered me more than alcohol while getting their drip, and I'm like, I'm good to go. But yeah, no judgment. Whatever you want to do while you're getting your drip, go for it.
Okay. Because you might be.
It's not indecent.
Hey, you're getting your free game on, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. That's what I was thinking. Like,
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine what a bachelor party might be like.
Coachella was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Because you guys you're going to Stagecoach for your birthday.
Yes.
And are you doing IVs there?
I mean, I want to have a little fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, if any of the artists need me, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be taking a few IVs to Stagecoach for sure. Celebrating my 40th, so I have to be optimal myself. And yes, I start IVs on myself.
oh. So a good question is, who cannot get an IV? I didn't even think about that.
That is a good question. So pediatrics, we don't recommend, you know, traumatizing your child, but also anybody with kidney disease, because every patient's different, but some people can't absorb that extra fluid.
Oh.
I've actually walked into clients who booked who are in their 90s with CHF, and I've said, I can't do this. It's not appropriate. So not everybody is appropriate. I've also infused 99-year-olds. So everybody's
Wow.
different. That's why we do a thorough assessment. Well,
So
I
if
do.
somebody is, if you cannot do it, you recommend call a doctor, go to the hospital, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, too, because I think, like, people that get to know you, I think will just really love you too. So I think it's huge,
thank you.
yeah, that people work with people and use people that they, you know, like and trust, but also just love as human beings. And I think you're, funny, you're like witty, you have that Southern accent, which is also like fun. And honestly, like, I just think it's really cool as like from a woman to a woman that you're like out there doing your business. You've got 2 kids, you're making all the things happen, you're making dinners, you're getting school drop-offs, you're doing this, doing that. And I think you obviously have a great partner in Mitch, but I just think like it's amazing, and it's really cool to see you doing like something that you dreamed about and like taking your life into your hands and having the freedom, you know, by being a business owner. I think it's
Amen.
really cool.
And ditto. Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.